Good afternoon and good evening. You are watching us. In East Africa, we are saying good evening because it's 8:33 p.m. And Karibu Sana. My name is Tamara Patience and I am joined by a fellow member here. I'm just going to let him introduce himself dakika moja before we get into what we are talking about today.
Thank you, Tamara. My name is Emmanuel Bosire. I'm here today to discuss with you the state of the country's politics, the heated debate on bipartisan talks, and even the state of CS Ababu Namwamba.
Exactly. Karibu Sana. So let's just dive into what we are talking about today. Now, we have seen a lot happening today in the world of news, in the world of politics in Kenya. And specifically, we are talking about the Sports Cabinet Secretary, Ababu Namwamba. Today, ilikuwa a day where we say, chuma chake kilikuwa motoni, because he was grilled a lot in parliament by his fellow colleagues, by his fellow members of parliament, because of a couple of things. And when it comes to the Kenyan political space and leadership, we talk a lot about corruption, about embezzlement of funds, as well as about accountability of the funds that were issued. Now, a couple of things that came up, or that came up during today's parliamentary session was, number one, Ababu was actually being grilled because of accountability of the sports representatives or of the athletes who went to Berlin in June for the Olympics to represent Kenya. And it is alleged that he actually neglected the team. So a lot of money was spent. That is around 160 million shillings, which Ababu also clarified during this particular sitting. And a couple of things that we picked up from the fellow members of parliament was that, yes, the money was issued, but how was it, how are the athletes actually catered for, you know? And how much money was, how were the athletes taken care of? Because these were athletes who are special needs people, you know, which arises the question, or which raises the question of accountability of funds. Yes, the funds were there. Were they put to good use? Can you come back and say to the people that this is the money that was issued, this is the work that the ministry was supposed to do, and this is what has been done so far? Now, a couple of also people raised issues on the quality of material, the quality of gears that the athletes were issued during that particular time. And also the issue, another issue that was raised was people being taken out there, or people being taken out as representatives when they are supposed to help with the team, but that was not the question. Ilikuwa, let's say people had gone out for enjoyment, you see. Now, we have seen in the political spectrum and also in the leadership of Kenya for a couple of years, for several years, that leaders are being grilled about stuff, but we do not know what the end result is. We have seen a lot of cases also in court about leaders who were supposed to put out or to do certain things to accomplish certain missions, but they didn't. Leaders who've embezzled funds, leaders who've stolen from the people, you know, and they have not been put accountable. Now, in the case of the sports CS today, we saw what happened. You saw what happened in parliament today. Everyone was on the neck. Yes, you have been given the ministry. So what have you done so far with the ministry? Because all we are seeing is deductions, but we are not seeing work. And also, Ababu did mention something. He said, whatever I inherited, you know, I inherited something that was not in good condition, say, you know. So I just want to pose a question to you in regards to all that we have summarized as per what was happening in the parliamentary session today. And also, you know, we all know what is happening in Kenya in regards to the two parties and the bipartisan talks. So according to you, do you think that Ababu Namwamba is going to be the sacrifice, the first sacrifice for Kenya Kwanza? Like, what's your take on that?
So it's a very difficult question, but I'm going to answer it in two dimensions.
Okay.
Before then, we need to understand that sports docket, especially in developing countries, is never taken seriously. It's true that Kenya, we have many talents from all angles of life. We have talents in leadership. We have talents in sports. We have talents in music. We have talents everywhere. And in many developing countries, they take talent so seriously. And in some countries, we can mention even in big countries in the world, one of the source of capital to the government is through sporting activities. This is the opposite of what's happening in developing countries, especially the African continent, and drawing down to Kenya as a nation. Now here in our country, it's whereby the government supports talent by word of mouth, but not by actions.
Okay.
They stand everywhere in the podiums, they go all over the country, telling Kenyans how they want to improve talents, especially in sporting activities. But they don't support that docket fully. If we look much more into sports docket in our country, even from the first Minister of Sports, what did he achieve? What improvement did he bring to the ministry? Down up to the current CS, Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba, what has he done to show Kenyans that he's really working out to improve this talent? Now, this happens because in African continent, everything is direct proportional to politics of the day.
True.
The kind of the politicians who are ruling the country control the business sector, control the sporting activity, control the education sector. What kind of education do Kenyans want to meet? Now, this is now bringing us back to the big table. Who is this CS of sports? Under what leadership is he running? Now, we see that the Kenya Kwanza government, headed by Mr. President, His Excellency William Ruto, has delegated duties down to his loyal people. You know, we remember well after elections, the deputy president was telling us that the government is a company with shares. And those with shares only are able to find the benefits of this government.
True.
So we see the aspect of selecting the cabinet secretaries to occupy different offices. Number one, were they selected according to competency? Do they have the skills to run those offices? Or they were just selected because they were loyal during the campaigns and they are able to support the government of the day? Now, this has been a debate all over, that His Excellency William Ruto was only rewarding loyalty to his followers. We say to this docket, who is Ababu Namwamba? What has he been doing in the past? For your information, he's a lawyer by profession. Now he's here as the CS for sports. So from my own thinking is that he might not have that full interest to run this docket.
Okay.
Now anything happening here in sports, and from the one heading it is a lawyer. I want to hope you believe in this.
Yeah, I'm understanding you.
Your profession, you're a teacher, let's take for example. But you're here given a docket that has no relationship at all with what you are doing. To some extent, it will be bringing another picture. How are you selected to do in that sector? All through, they are now selected. They are here serving less than 8 months since they are selected and going into office. We have many of them. We are not only narrowing down to Ababu of sports. We have many who have been chosen. Now, Ababu here, as this scenario, is from the Kenya Kwanza government. He has been given this docket to serve as the CS for sports. And then, less than 8 months, is the first one to be pointed at, that his docket of sports is failing Kenyans. It's true, as the government needs to see that things are being done how it expects them to be done. So if you give someone a job, and indications are showing that he's not ready for that job, what do?
Get rid of them.
You replace that person and bring someone who is more competent to serve in the docket.
Exactly.
Now, these are early indications that some of the CS are not doing their roles as they have been directed by the Constitution and by the head of state who has given them that role. We are on the talks of bipartisan talks in the country. The Kenya Kwanza and the Azimio la Umoja coalition are in the talks. Now someone can ask, is it through these talks that the government want to sacrifice Ababu Namwamba to replace him with someone from Azimio la Umoja? I can answer in two answers.
Okay.
Number one, I can say yes. In number two, no. Why am I saying yes? To start from the yes answer. Ababu from Kenya Kwanza, with the indications that is not ready now to work here. These indications are clear that when the team, any sports team from a country is going to represent the state in international sports, it's in order for the government to support that team, make sure that the necessary requirements are met before they travel out of the country, and if possible, the CS himself to be there to flag them out as they go to represent the country. But in most cases, it does not mean that he must be there physically. They are his representatives from the office. It could happen that during that day, he had other roles to do, but he can delegate duties or ask someone to stand in for him. So for today's allegations, they are saying that he did not support the Kenyan team by flagging them off and in the country.
Yes.
In Berlin. That was about June. In his explanation, he was saying that that day he was busy in town doing a different activity. Now this brings us to this big picture of our country and big politicians and any leader in our country. Their roles that are president must be there for them to be opened fully.
Okay.
There are others, you can delegate duties for someone to go and represent you to do those roles, which instead for you to go and do, you can ask someone to do. For one of the reasons why delegation is important, it reduces the cost. You know, with the state funding, a CS has a lot of money to run an activity in a day. But instead to go and do that, you can send someone to represent you at a lower cost, and this remaining money should be directed to that docket that you're serving directly to the accounts.
Okay.
And why am I saying no? Why am I saying yes, that Ababu could be sacrificed? Amidst the big debates of Kenya Kwanza and of Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, it seems that the president and Raila Odinga are in an agreement to work together in a handshake. But they cannot come to the public and tell us now that we have agreed. Raila Odinga, in this aspect, having that they could be having hidden agreement between the president, could be going all over saying the president is not working. Where the president is all over saying that we need an opposition to keep us on track. So this one will bring this picture that they don't have a handshake. Now, the bipartisan talks headed by Kalonzo Musyoka and Kimani Ichung'wah from these other sides, they are trying to bring this picture to us as Kenyans, that they are not together and they are not ready for any handshake. But from the behind, they have pointed out that we want someone from our part to take the docket and represent it. That's why I'm saying it could be yes.
And it could be
instant. From the other side of no, is that we want a country whereby CS are doing their roles. So the president will have been seen that Bwana Ababu Namwamba amelala kwa kazi yake. Now that you've slept in this docket that I've given you, what do? I remove you out and bring someone else. But again, there's a procedure to remove out a CS from office and to bring in someone else. Basically, it's appointment from the president through the parliament. So then the parliament again will question him, as we saw today. Ababu was being questioned in the House to give what he understands about the allegations for him. If they continue and find him is incompetent, then he will be kicked out, and then the president will suggest another different name, and then the House again will discuss the competences of that someone, and then it will be given that one.
Okay, but now that raises a couple of questions. Number one, who gave Ababu power?
Definitely the president.
Exactly. So now when we put the question of competency, how maybe cabinet secretaries are selected according to, for example, the example that you've given about Ababu Namwamba being a lawyer,
yes,
and being delegated to work on the sports sector.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of CSs who are working, who are not whose specialty is not in that particular sector, but they're still delivering. Yes. So that gives the first question of what could be or what should be the criteria of choosing leaders or of choosing representatives for different ministries. So that is the first thing that I would like, maybe if you could have some insights to share. What are some of the possible criteria? Like, is it you as a person who's into sports, so that could be a qualifying thing, or like a reason, a major reason as to why you are delegated to work for the sports sector. The second thing we've talked about is delegation. Now, you've said probably also Ababu did mention that he wasn't present to receive, to flag off the team when they came from Berlin, because he was in some meeting somewhere, you know. And it also raises the question of, if the CS is not there, can't the CS team actually fulfill what it's supposed to fulfill? Because we've talked about, if you're not there, delegate, but are the people who are also being delegated for or delegated to the responsibilities, are they the biggest problem, or would we say the CS is the biggest problem, or is the ministry, who is really failing? That is a question we're failing to understand.
That's a very good question. A school is good as its head. For school to be well functioning or running or performing well, the head of that institution gets much acknowledgement to be the one facilitating the performance. Now, a ministry is one big docket headed by one person. And this ministry has its own way of running out their things. Now, here, let's say the Ministry of Sports. It's a ministry that has its branches all over the country, from the grassroots up to the national, up to the international levels. So there are many stakeholders which are involved in a ministry. Under the leadership of one CS is the cabinet secretary for that docket. Now, in this case, you could inherit a rotten ministry, and then you coming here to bring in reforms. When you come to bring in reforms to that ministry, reforms means that they want to improve the level of that ministry and its performance. Now, when you inherit a bad ministry, which is lagging behind in many aspects, from sourcing of financing, from bringing up new talents, how the team is being represented in different sports. And then you're going to bring in a new culture. Now that you are the boss in this docket, we want to see and feel that you're working in that docket. We want to see that you are fit to wear those shoes. Now, when you're given this role by the head who has trusted you and given out your name to be appointed in that docket, meaning he has full trust that you are able to fit in that shoe. Now, when you be given that role, you have nothing else to do other than to perform. You know, a government is one big thing again that has many ministries. So it's through many ministries that unite to form one government.
True.
So when one ministry fails,
means that the whole government is going to fail. But when ministries collaborate, ministries have to come together. Like when we talk about Ministry of Education, it must work together with Ministry of Finance to ensure how things are working out.
Yeah.
Now, to answer your question, is that the president giving out a role to an individual whom he has seen that is performing well. Again, there's this aspect of considering whom do you give secretaries. You're also bringing this picture of nationwide balance. You can't take one region and give them all secretaries.
Sure.
So you will be bringing this picture of Kenya. You're bringing someone from Nyanza, someone from Coast. And now that nowadays we're talking more about counties, you'll be trying to see that there's a balance. And then you've trusted someone from that region to represent a certain or particular ministry. So he has nothing or she has nothing to do other than to perform. And then if he's not showing signs of performing, you now come for an option of bringing someone else who is going to perform in that ministry. And the picture of someone being educated or in a particular profession to perform well does not really guarantee that you perform well. It's not a guarantee that you must be a sports director or coach for you to serve in a sports docket. But what will only happen is you'll come as the head, but there are people with more knowledge in that docket you're heading who will be delegating much of your roles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And also to our viewers, we would really love to know your perspective on what are some of the things that you would wish would be implemented or put into consideration when selecting cabinet secretaries, when appointing or nominating cabinet secretaries for you. Should it be based on performance, education, delivery, maybe previous history on how they deliver the things? Now, we go back, Emmanuel, and I also have another follow-up question, because another issue that was raised in today's sitting when it comes to accountability was the fact that the Talanta initiative, the application was never, or it's not even present on any of the gadgets. If you look for it, like on your application system, it is not present. Yet, if I recall, back in June, the president himself launched an app. And it was a question that was also raised on Parliament, because they're like, why are we... Nakumbuka Shole asked, do we have the Talanta Hela or the Talanta Hela? Like, which is it? So when it comes to something like that, who is supposed to be accountable for that? Because is it he who is about to sacrifice the CS? Or is it the CS himself? Is it the system? Because in case you don't know about the Talanta Hela initiative, when it was being created, the whole aim was to ensure that each and every person is represented from each and every region, and they have a place or a platform to showcase their talent, And I remember pretty well when the launch was happening, the CS used the example of a boy in Wajir who is good in sports, and can take a video, upload it on the platform. And then they're going to see what they're going to do about this particular child, to enhance like sports in the country. But up to date, it's been over a month since the imaginary app was launched, apparently. And we are now, the question comes also, he said he inherited a mess, but is he actually making more of a mess out of what was left from the predecessors, especially when it comes to this particular app, which is supposed to involve a lot of the youth?
What happens when you're found up in any mess? The first strategy as a human being or any animal is to defend yourself.
Sure.
So this mess is in the docket of sports and youth affairs. The head has been caught with this great mess. So the first thing that you want to tell us, or you want to tell Kenyans, is how innocent you are. So this whole picture you saw him doing in Parliament was to defend himself. He was trying to differentiate between the mess and him as an individual. But this again asks us, who is the head?
Who is the head?
Who is responsible when this mess has happened? And the answer is him. So the Talanta initiative could be one way to work out the corruption deals. You know, how much does it cost to start an application?
I am not so sure. How much does it cost to start an application?
It's a very expensive thing, especially a working platform in a country. And then, meaning there could be resources that have been used to work out to that facility, and then again, less than 2 months is not somewhere to be seen.
Exactly.
So meaning there's that gap that has been created, and there was embezzlement of funds. And if someone was given that role, did it either perfectly or imperfectly, the thing is, my funds have been embezzled from this docket of sports and youth affairs. Again, it could be, you know, politics is politics. It could be someone behind him is working out to push him to this mess and fail. So the big picture here is, as he's trying to defend himself, of which something 90% or 100% he is sure how the mess has been, how the plans were, and how they have caught him up, and the whole docket of sports and youth affairs. So this is bringing us to the big main point in our country, corruption. When will corruption end? You are given a docket. The government is trying to work hard to ensure that corruption levels are coming down. You know, it's not honest to say that you can finish corruption, but what's being done is to regulate and to reduce corruption cases. Now, this is a big picture that this docket of ministry is corrupt. So it should be responsible to answer corruption cases. So, and again, you cannot come here and say he's corrupt. So you must be corrupt with evidence.
Exactly.
So if a Kenyan will go and do more research and take this case to court, and then this picture now will take its route to the judiciary, and they will do investigations and find out if it's true or false. Yeah.
So now we have talked, we have seen there's a problem, obviously, in the ministry. We've seen there's a gap. And this is not the only ministry. As you have put it, it might be the first to actually be probably a lesson to the rest. So previously, we've seen a lot of leaders being involved in cases of corruption, cases of embezzlement of funds, misuse of funds. And we just hear, oh, we want accountability. They go to parliament, they're bashed, they're grilled and all that. We saw, not a topic of today, but we saw Mandago go through the same, not in parliament. We've seen Moses Kuria also being sort of like railed because of some oil scandal somewhere. Probably evidence is there, probably evidence is not there. We know there is a problem. But now as we wind up, the question is, what is the solution? Like, what can we do to ensure that now, for example, if the CS is not able to come up with evidence enough that I was given 160, the ministry gave me 160 million shillings. This is how it was used. This is how the athletes were taken care of. This is what happened to the money. The 13 representatives, government representative who went to Berlin as well. This is how much money they use for what? Is it sherehe or is it working towards assisting the athletes? Same to this Talanta Hela application. It is not there. Obviously, they say there's some technical issues. It's going to come back. We don't know if it's going to come back, you know. We live in that question. And it's the same question we have for other ministries, for other government institutions, for other leaders. We have a problem. We have spotted the problem. But how are we going to ensure that we find a solution at the end of it all?
You know, this case brings us to the big picture, actually. The mistake that CS Ababu did was to write to the Speaker of the National Assembly. So when he wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly, actually it could be he fired himself. he did a great mistake to try to lecture the House how to run its roles and responsibilities. So from the start, whereby he wrote, it's normally it's the parliament, we should be inviting you to go there and explain what you've done in your docket.
Exactly.
But in this case now, Ababu is writing to the speaker, trying to defend himself. And that's now brought the big debate today, that is trying to lecture now the House on how to run its roles, how to call the CS to parliament, how to ask them questions, and even how to respond to them.
Sure.
Now, this is bringing this picture of auditing. Every government department, there's the government auditor who does the auditing for every government department. So you could be having internal auditor, and the government provides the external auditor when the need is required. So at this point, to try to come and defend yourself or not, we have the auditors. And in most cases, when you have an internal auditor, the auditing will balance. This is Kenya, whereby things will be done until they fix exactly the mess is being sorted out.
Lazima vitu ziingiane.
Balance vizuri hivi, and then you are clean as snow again to the eyes of the public. So to this point, it could be a wake-up call again to other CS who could be sleeping in their jobs, who are not really interested to work out to see that their dockets are moving ahead, and even this whole picture of Kenya Kwanza delivering to the promises during their campaigns to Kenyans.
Okay, I think that was a short but interesting conversation. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to be doing this more and more and more. And to our viewers, remember I asked you a question. What do you think should be the criteria of nominating or selecting CSs or leaders out here to Parliament who are going to represent the different ministries? So feel free to tell us on the comment section. Most definitely, we are going to come back to them the next time we are here. And also, we have seen a lot of leaders going through or being put in the limelight because of issues of embezzlement, issues of corruption, issues of misuse and abuse of office and funds. What should be the solution to ensure that it's not a repetitive thing, that every single time we are just grilling people in Parliament because you have not done this, you have not done this, but we don't have solutions. We are grilling you, but tomorrow, you as the leader, you are still representing us. We are complaining about you, but you're still representing the needs of the people. So what solution should be, what should be put at this as the solution? Anyway, it's like English wants to go. It's saying it's time. But yeah, what should be the solution? So feel free to tell us on the comment section below. And as you do that, as you go to the comment section, ensure that you subscribe to our channel, ensure that you share widely. And uko na parting shot ama niambie watu kwaheri.
Kwaheri.
So we're going to see you next time. Thank you and bye.